Hello, Professor Toybox here. I've got Princess Jasmine with me, and today I'm going to put the finishing touches on my Cave of Wonders toy box. I'm also going to show you how to use the satellite receiver to unlock the Agrabah Palace interior. And that's going to be the fifth and final toy box in my Aladdin adventure. So we're going to place this right out here for right now. And let's go ahead and hook that up while I'm right here. So when the final text displays in Jafar's monologue, on that text displayer, we're going to do a new logic connection. When the text is dismissed, come over to the satellite receiver, and I'm going to turn on Station 2. And we'll use Station 2 to unlock the palace interior. And that's everything we need to do with the satellite receiver on this end. Now the other thing we need is a way to get out of this toy box. And so for right now, I'm going to come back to the entrance way out here. And I'm going to put down a toy box door, and again I could put that right here, but that just looks ugly, and so I'm actually going to set it out here like that, and we will open up the properties. For the destination, we're going to link to an existing toy box, and I want to go back to the desert. And the destination locator tag, let's set this to 1. Can't remember if I put a locator out there at the Cave of Wonders entrance or not. But yeah, we'll do that. And we'll leave the confirmation flag on. And then to invoke that, we'll put down a trigger area. And that way it'll feel a little bit more natural, like we're walking out of the cave, instead of walking through that door that's just sitting there in the middle of nowhere. So we'll put that there like that. And on the trigger area, we'll do a new logic connection when entered by player, any. Come over to the toy box door and change the level. All right, and one last thing, because I really don't want to have the player run through this entire gauntlet again just to get out of here. And so what we can do is, when the player defeats all of these bears, we can trigger that automatically. And so I'm going to put down one more creativity out here, and that's going to be a time delayer. Like that. And on this time delayer, I'm going to set the properties, and we'll set the delay time to be 2 seconds. And so on this enemy wave generator, for the bears, we'll do a new logic connection. When the wave is defeated, we'll invoke the time delayer to start the delay. And I'm using the time delayer just so that you can have a little time to see the bear being destroyed and get the sparks from it. And then this time delayer, new logic connection. When the delay is completed, we'll come over and invoke the toy box door. And we'll change the level. And with that, the Cave of Wonders is pretty much done. All we have to do now is to move the creativitoys below the terrain and put the ceiling on. But I'll leave that as an exercise for you. I will give you a couple of small pieces of advice though. First, I recommend using very large terrain blocks to put the ceiling on. So you're going to want to use the largest blocks that are available where you can. So something like that one to cover up as much of the ceiling as possible, and that will minimize the number of seams, which can look ugly when you're looking up at the ceiling from inside. And secondly, for the ceiling texture in each of the sections of the cave, I recommend using the same texture as the rest of the cave so that it all matches. So for like right here, I would be using the Buried Treasures theme. And hopefully that will update itself there in a moment. There it goes. So it's the same theme. That way when you look at it from inside, it matches. And out here you'd use the Sands of Time theme for these warmer areas. And with that, the Cave of Wonders is done. I'm going to save my toy box, and then I'm going to go through that toy box door and return to the Agrabah Desert toy box for a moment, because there's a couple of things we need to do there before we return to the city. So I'll do that, and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, here we are back in the Agrabah Desert, and as you can see, it put us back here at the start of the desert. So either I didn't put down a locator over at the Cave of Wonders, or I used a different number. So let's run back out over here, and we'll see what we've got and fix it. Okay, so yeah, doesn't look like I put one down. So the Cave of Wonders is right about there. So I'm going to want a locator probably out about where this seam is here. So let's come down to the Creativitoys drawer again and get a locator here. And I want to put this down right on the ground. I want to make sure it's facing out, so that little blue dot is facing that way, so that's good. And we'll open up the properties. We'll set the door destination tag to 1. So now when we leave the Cave of Wonders, we'll show up here instead of back at the entrance. So that's good. And then the last thing I want to do in this toy box that I forgot to do earlier was to put in the toy box door that will take us back to the city. And so we need to do that back here at the entrance. So once again, I'm going to use a trigger area, because I just think that looks so much better than just having a door sitting out here. So let's see, we'll put it there like that. Stretch it across the whole length. And then we'll need a toy box door. And we'll tuck the toy box door underneath out of sight. Okay. And then on this toy box door in the properties, you can see destination level 1, so that's all right though. I'm going to have to get out of this toy box and come back in order to set that properly. So that's okay. When I do that, I'll be able to get the number on the locator as well in the other toy box. But anyway, on this trigger area, when entered by player any, I want to come down and change the level. So there's the logic is hooked up. So at this point I need to save my toy box again and then exit out and come back in. So I'm going to do that, and I will meet you back here in just a moment. Okay, so I've quit the toy box and reloaded it. And so now I should be able to set the properties on this toy box door. So we open up the properties. Whoa. So that is the correct toy box destination. For the destination locator tag, I do not have a locator over there yet. So first thing when we get back to the city is I'll put one in, and we're going to use tag number 2. We used number 1 for the exit from the dungeon, so we'll use number 2 for coming back from the desert, and we'll leave the confirmation flag on. So now once again I will save my toy box, and then I will go through that trigger area and meet you back at the city in just a moment. Okay, here we are back where it all started. So the first thing we want to do is come back out over here and put down that locator that we were missing. And I want the player to reappear right here when they come out of the desert. And that little blue dot is facing the correct direction, so that's good. So we'll open up the properties, and I'm going to set the door destination tag to 2. So now when we come back from the desert, we'll show up over here instead of at the starting pad over there. Alright, the last thing I want to do today is hook up the satellite receiver on this end to listen for Station 2 being turned on. And when that happens, we want to unlock the entrance to the palace. Now, what I'm going to do here is basically the exact same thing that I did back in episode 32 when I put down these controls here. That's back when I gave you the tutorial on the satellite receiver. But I'm going to do one thing differently. If you recall in episode 32, I used 2 logic gates here. One of them is connected to a text displayer. One of them is connected to a toy box door. And this trigger area invokes both gates. And one of these gates is always open, one of them is always closed. And the gate that is always open, I believe, is this one. This is the one that's initially open. Let's see. I can verify that by looking at how the level starter is configured. Right, so when I enter then the toy box, this is the gate that's open. So this is the one that will invoke the text displayer. So when I first run through that trigger area, if I haven't gone to the palace dungeon and turned on Station 1 from the satellite receiver, this will invoke the text displayer that basically tells the player, not right now. And then after we turn on Station 1 in the palace dungeon, that closes this gate, opens up that gate, which now allows that trigger area to invoke the toy box door to go to the desert. Now, after that episode aired, someone pointed out to me that you can do the same thing using only one logic gate. And I want to show you how to do that today, because using one gate instead of 2 can save a little bit of memory. And so even though I've covered how to do this in episode 32, I want to show you how to do it again, but to do it a little bit more efficiently. And we're going to reuse the satellite receiver object that we have here, or back there. I've also put down a few new objects. So we have our trigger area that's over here by the palace door. This is going to work the same way as the one over there at the entrance to the desert. I've got down one logic gate that we're going to use, and a time delayer. And so that's what we're going to do. So just like before, the trigger area, we're going to do a new logic connection when entered by player any. I'm going to come down to the one logic gate, and we're going to input into that gate. Okay. Now, this gate initially, I want to be in the closed state. And so we're going to come over to our level starter over here. which we put down in an earlier episode. Do a new logic connection on catalyze. We're going to come over to the logic gate over here. And we're going to close that gate. Okay, and just so I don't forget, let's go ahead and go back to our little command center over here, which is underneath the starting pad. And we'll invoke the reset button for the level starter. Of course, that's going to turn on our economy, so I need to come back over here and turn that back off. But now that logic gate should be closed, which is the correct initial state for it. Oh, and by the way, since we're right here, let's go ahead and put down our toy box door for the palace interior. I'm going to put that in my little command center as well, and that way we can get to that anytime we need to. So I'm going to open up the properties for this. For the destination, we're going to link to an existing toy box. We're going to go to the palace interior. And I already created that toy box earlier to bring interior toys out. But we haven't done anything other than that with that toy box. But that's the door that will take us there. Okay. So now we want to be able to open up that logic gate when we need to. Now, before we do that, let's go ahead and connect that up to the text displayer. And so on this logic gate then, we're going to do a new logic connection. So the gate is initially closed, so if we try to go through that trigger area, it's going to try to input into the gate. And so the trigger signal I want to use is input blocked. So the input's going to be blocked because the gate is closed. And so when the input is blocked, we want to come over to our text displayer that we were using over here. And I'm going to reuse this once again. And underneath here, we're going to say, under the negative category, not right now. So that's how you can use the one gate instead of two, is would trigger off that input blocked signal. Now to open that gate, we need to listen on the satellite receiver. So we're going to come back over here, and if you recall from the tutorial, there's an order when you load up the level, and so this is going to be broadcast first, any changes that are made to any of the stations, and then the level starter kicks in, and that's why we had this time delayer here. And so on the satellite receiver, we're going to do a new logic connection. When turned on, station 2 is, we're going to come over to our new time delayer for this door over here. And again, we're going to start the delay. And the 1 second delay on this, again, is sufficient. And then on the time delayer, we'll do a new logic connection. When the delay is completed, we are going to come over to the logic gate and open the gate. And so now when we input into the gate, we want to do a new logic connection on output. We'll come over to our toy box door for the palace interior. And we'll change the level. And so there we go. And I think that's everything we need to hook up here. So right now, again, that station 2 is off. So when we come over here and try to walk into this trigger area, it shouldn't let us because that gate should be closed. And it says not right now. So that's good. Now we can finally enter the palace interior, but we'll do that next time. I'll go through that door in the next episode and play through the Agrabah Palace interior toy box so you can see the final battle that I've built with Jafar. Will Princess Jasmine be able to defeat Jafar and rescue her father the Sultan from his evil clutches? Tune in next week for the exciting conclusion. In the meantime, thanks for watching and for sticking with me through this long series. We're in the home stretch, just a few more episodes to go, and then we'll finally be finished. I hope you've enjoyed this series so far. If so, be sure to give this video a like and leave a comment to let me know. You can click my photo in the lower right corner of this video to subscribe to my channel. And as usual, you can find logic diagrams for today's show on my blog that will help you build this toy box on your own console or PC if you want to do that. That's all for me today. Take care.